Earl and Olajuwon, welcome to the Claima Stories podcast powered by Vista. We've been trying to do this for a minute, fellas. I'm glad we got y'all in town. I'm glad calendars aligned. Y'all on y'all world tour right now.
Yes, sir. Yes,
we got a
sir.
little break on the world tour. How y'all feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling like, we're in Portland. Hopefully we see the employee. We just came from the employee store.
I got
bags. Saw some things that we ain't seen in a while,
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. So, but nah, man, it's a blessing to even have the opportunity to, own Eastside, but then also get into it, but design Jordans.
Yeah, that's y'all know what it is. Like those two pairings, what y'all are doing is like, it's crazy. And we talked about it a little bit, and we're gonna get into it today in the interview. But it's like, y'all are not just building any brand, right? Like you're building a brand and you build an impact at the same time, and those things it's quite the dance.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not just a very simple thing.
Yeah. Not at all. Not at all.
I would say a lot of times it's hard to build a company up and make profit, but also make change at the same time. Those two things that go hand in hand within a company, that's pretty hard to do.
What's the just on that topic alone? How do y'all keep yourselves in a place where you keep those two values in check, where you're like, yes, this is good for the brand from a revenue financial standpoint, but also, is it good for the brand from the mission we serve, what we're trying to contribute to the culture?
Yeah, I say we stick to our morals and values. Like the thing, like why are we here doing this? What are the things that, we continuously think about it. We've been playing the game since we were 6 years old. So what are some of the things that we would have wanted to see growing up, and how do we implement that? Moving forward within Eastside.
Yeah.
Keeping that at the front of our mind. Keeping that at telling authentic stories through our designs, through me designing and through me just really telling about those stories that went on through the past, so little small Earls and small Olajuwons can see that.
Yeah.
Then they can, see how they can move throughout golf and see how golf can actually help them. But us sticking to that has taken us so far.
Place. That's powerful, right? Like it's rooted in purpose. You know what I mean? Like that's super dope to me. You touched on something, so I want to go back to it. I know y'all were born days apart in '89, but did y'all know each other then? Like y'all come from two different places, though, yeah?
Yeah, completely.
Yeah,
Places.
Delaware.
Yeah, well, I was born in Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was raised in Delaware.
Yeah, in Atlanta.
And born in Houston.
Born in Houston.
Olajuwon.
Wait, so explain that, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people assume you're Nigerian.
Yeah.
So what's the backstory on this?
Yeah, so I was born in Houston, Texas, named after Hakeem Olajuwon. Yes, but no relation. But my father, he was born in South Memphis, Tennessee, and when he turned 24, had a little association with the Black Panthers, but he didn't want a slave master name, and he ended up changing his name from Roy Rutledge to Kwame Ajanaku.
Word.
Yeah, and now I'm Olajuwon Ajanaku. He wanted a name that meant something to be passed down. As far as lineage, that actually means something.
Right.
And that was powerful for him.
How does that live with you today, right? Like how do you take what he wanted to instill in you and bring it into this world?
Yeah, I would say one of the most powerful things that he taught me, or even just my name, was there's power in who you are. As a Black man, there's actually power in that, and being that. A lot of people are afraid of it. A lot of people shy away from it. A lot of people want to be it, but it's risky, all the time.
Just being us.
Just being us.
As we are. Before all the stuff that we do gets added onto it, it's already a risk.
Right. So, just being literally myself and seeing the power in being a Black man, but that's where I came up with the logo. I was just like, I can truly show a whole nother side of golf just from having this logo that has never been and won't be shown authentically from any other golf brand.
Right, absolutely. No, it's 101. Trust.
Yeah. For sure.
Now I know y'all been playing golf since toddlers. Did your parents? I gotta exaggerate it. Did your parents play golf?
Nah.
So where did that come from?
So for me, it was the inner city youth golf program called the LPGA, which stands for Ladies Professional Golf Association. So they had a major event in Wilmington, Delaware, and that was basically the nonprofit that they started. It was called LPGA Urban Youth Golf Program. So my father just saw a flyer and just signed me and my sister up, and then it was just something to kind of do. And then it morphed into something where like, oh, okay, I'm good at it, and then kind of took a life of its own. When I was like 13, I had to win in the Golf Channel drive, chip, and putt, which was a skills competition, like almost like kick, punt, and pass. And then from there, that's when I embraced it, like as an individual, as a young black man, saying, okay, you know what, I'm gonna accept the fact that I'm good at this, and that I have an opportunity, and then started really practicing.
What did the makeup of the other kids look like?
No, I mean, there wasn't too many kids that, I would say kind of 60-40, I think was, because it was an urban youth program, so there were definitely other black kids that were there. I think the biggest thing for me was, like, it wasn't my friends, though. And, like, I learned so much as being, like, a golf instructor that, like, young kids, I would say from the age, and it changes now, but, like, 13 and down, you really only care about socializing. Like, if you went to, like, a little league baseball or basketball, they're not really talking about hits. It's like more action happening.
Oh yeah,
on
they
the
more
bench.
talking about
Like,
they
yo,
looking like, hey man, you
I'm
got
just
the
crush you
Pokemon?
in Fortnite. You know what I mean? When I get back, or you know what I mean? Madden is over with. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're not really.
They don't even see what's happening in the
Right,
game.
right. So it's like when I would, you know, when I was teaching, I understood that when it came to young kids, I'm like, yo, like they don't really just want to have a perfect golf swing. They really more just want to have fun, the process of socialization, and like how are you creating that environment during the instructional period versus like, yo, hit it on plane and your backswing is too big. It's like, bro, that's just not
Like
good.
we're not there yet.
Yeah.
How about you?
When it comes to, what was the question? I'm sorry.
The question was like, were your parents fans of golf?
Yeah, so nobody plays in my family. Nobody plays golf.
That's so wild to me. Like neither one, but like you two got very interested.
Yeah. And it was a friend of the family that introduced me to the game. I ended up growing up with his sons playing golf. We were on the same high school team. First time we ever went to state. Then I ended up getting a golf scholarship to Morehouse College, where we met. One went to Southern University, and one went to Talladega College.
Wow.
But I grew up through, first tee program, just a little bit in my younger days, probably like before I was 13, 14 years old. And then after that, just kept practicing over time and ended up getting a scholarship to Morehouse. That's where I met Earl.
Wow. So how did y'all meet at Morehouse? What was like, y'all met on the golf course? Or
Yeah. First time I met him was at John A. White, and I believe it was on the 9th green. Like, we didn't even meet. We were supposed to go play, but we were just like, well, let's meet up. Yo, let's dap everybody up. Everybody meet each other. And then we'll size each other up. Then we're going to go on the course. And see what y'all got. You know what I'm saying?
What was the first thought? What was your first thought? When y'all were like,
I mean, for me, it was, you got to understand, I was coming from Wilmington, Delaware. So, like, I was just happy to be there and playing with black people. You know what I mean? Young black brothers. Like, I mean, there's a picture of me on the Wilmington College, Wilmington College golf team, and I'm the only black guy. Like, I was always the only black.
always the only one?
You know what I mean? That was how my environment was. So it was like, I'm like, yo, let's get it. I think over time, the competitive juices started to flow and things like that. But I would say, like, my first initial reaction, I was just more excited to be playing with guys that look like me.
Yeah, and I guess my experience growing up in golf, I mean, I'm from Atlanta, so it's the South, and where I practiced at, it was all black. Maybe 2% white. I knew them very well, and I still know them today. Wow. You know what I'm saying? It was majority black folks, and so me growing up playing in that way, but then going over to the country clubs, it was all white.
white.
You know, but I've been practicing. I do this in my sleep.
Yeah.
You know, I do this all the time, so I should be just as confident when I go over here to these other golf courses. But it's little things like, you know, me growing up on a municipality. You know, it doesn't have the best greens, the best fairway, the best, just best anything. But then when you go over to the country club, the greens run a little faster. You know, it's a little bit more pure. So it's a little bit a tougher golf of where I, you know, grew up at. But still, you know, playing at country clubs will get you prepared for professional golf, and that's where you see the difference.
The difference in everything, probably.
In a lot of things. A lot of things. So,
right. And I think the beauty of it, you know, I think a lot of times people try to figure out, like, how we rushed on the scene and what happened. But just even sitting here thinking about it is like, we are so different. Like, there's so many things that are the same. We love golf, 4 days apart, you know, this, that, and the third, all things that we listed. But, like, when you really start to dig deep, it's just, like, different. And I think that's the beauty of the game, where it's like golf is this beautiful umbrella that we all can kind of live under. And, like, we're just saying come as you are. Like, the common thread is golf, and then the rest don't really matter. You know what I'm saying?
Take care of yourself.
It'll figure itself out.
Right.
The fact is that we're coming to a common ground.
Correct. Which is golf.
Now speaking of golf at Morehouse, y'all won a national title while y'all was there.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like, you know, a national title, that's not a small deal, you know, especially, you know, to do it as brothers, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty important. So what do y'all remember about that experience? What sticks out to you today?
For me, I mean, I remember what I shot. I remember the last 2 rounds. It wasn't that well. 2010, I feel like it was monumental because it was the first national championship that Morehouse had won, you know, but for it to be in golf and for everybody on the team to be black, like, I remember how powerful we felt taking a picture. You know, like, our head coach, his name was Bill Lewis. He passed away last year. Year before last. Wow. And just for him to be there and to have that national championship, him being one of the first, him being one of the people that taught me how to swing a golf club as well, you know, like, I feel like, I mean, I want so many other black people and many other diverse people to get into this game. That's how I felt.
That's how you feel.
When I won that championship. I know what it'll do for them, and I know where it'll take them in life.
Wow.
For sure.
That's hella powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just think about, like, we all know how powerful it is seeing other people that look like us doing something aspirational, right? And to do it on the level.
Yeah, on the highest,
You can't get the highest form is inspiration, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Earl, talk me through what was your relationship with golf after college?
So for me, my relationship with golf after college was one where it went, I mean, now I can look back and say it went fast, you know, so I immediately, I had a quick little window where I thought I could play golf professionally, realized, like, all right, that ain't gonna work. Because I'm just not that good. Like, I tell people all the time, it's like, it's no knock. Like, I'm a realist. Like, I'm not less than a man if I say I'm not that good, right? And so it was one of those things where, could I shoot in the 70s? Sure. Can I do it consistently? No. You know, week in and week out.
Got it.
So I ended up, I did this program, the PGA Postgrad Diversity Program. And so basically you had an opportunity to accelerate through level 1. And I worked at the PGA Golf Club and started my journey on becoming a PGA professional.
Okay.
So I started there, and then I went to Detroit Golf Club, where I was the first African-American golf pro there, which was a wonderful experience. I mean, I met so many great people, so many mentors, and just, like, he'll tell you still to this day, like, man, them people love me, seriously. Like,
Yes, they do.
and it's all colors.
Yes, they do.
Like, young, old, like, it was such a very special, like, that's where I really learned. I just learned so much about myself. And I learned so much about, like, teaching. That's really when I really fell in love with teaching. We started, me and this other guy, the other assistant, Matt Adamski, and John Gates, who was the head pro at the time, a junior elite. And that's what we called it. And we basically, like, imagine doing, like, just a super intense golf program, but, like, I felt like my role was, like, I still tried to figure out a way to make it fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Make
It
it
was intense.
approachable.
Like, we did an hour lesson, then we went and played 9 holes, and we were in the carts with them shot by shot. Like, what you
Ooh.
thinking? How you gonna go? Like, and then after that, we had a post-game lesson where you had to make, like, whatever putts. But we saw kids getting overnight, and then we did, like, what we called boot camp. Took them all down to Florida, because in Detroit, you trying to get out the cold anyway.
Right, absolutely.
So we took them down to Florida and, like, did these programs down there, and it was great because I took them to the club that I was at in Florida. So I was, like, watching how other people do golf schools and stuff like that, and we started implementing. But just to see the growth, and, like, we woke them up at 5 a.m. We had scheduled.
I was getting people up at
work.
5.
Man, it was just, but it was great because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, one thing I realized when it comes to, like, teaching and, like, any instructor, like, especially teaching junior kids, it's like, a lot of it is who you're around. Because golf, you spend so much time by yourself. So you can create, like, a team atmosphere. And, like, you're spending hours with people. Like, because we would ask the kids, we would do post-game interviews, or, post-trip interviews. And we would ask the kid, what was your favorite part? And they would be, like, dinner or the movie. Like, it wasn't even the hours on the range or making a birdie. It was, like, playing golf but having time to spend time with your peers, which you just typically don't get in golf. It's very, like, don't speak.
Isolated.
Like, you go to a junior golf tournament, parents is like, don't say nothing to nobody. Get serious. Working on your putting. It's like, okay.
Really?
Yeah, it's very stoic. And
At what point did making golf accessible start to become very important to you?
like from the beginning, like that's my journey. Like it wasn't accessible for me. Like I remember walking a mile to the golf course, you know what I mean, with my golf clubs. And like we lived on a golf course, but like until my dad cut the hole in the fence, like I literally had to go all the way around.
Wait. Your dad cut a hole in the fence?
Definitely cut a hole in the fence. Definitely put like the little makeshift gate. It wasn't even nothing nice. And I don't even think he like owned that property. Like, yo, my dad. like,
Sounds about right.
Yeah, exactly. You know my dad.
Yeah, that sounds like him.
Exactly. So, any means necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I mean, you just can, and it was so fun. I used to tell people, like, walking, you could see how the houses would change, right? So it would be like my house, and then it would just like get bigger, and then it was like, wow. Like, damn.
Like the closer you got
the
to
closer you got to the golf course,
got it.
the houses just started getting huge. And you just be like, man, and it'd be like, again, you're walking, like we said this, I remember earlier in interviews, it'd be like, even still to this day, it's not normalized to see a kid walking with golf clubs. If you saw a kid walking with golf, you'd be like, yo, you lost? Like,
No, it's true.
Where you at? Everything
I don't
okay?
think I've seen a kid walk with golf, just on, my regular community.
right.
I don't see it.
Yeah.
it's just not, So it's just like, but that was our journey. You know what I mean? He's got his journey on how he got to the golf course. That's what inspired, the shoes, the red clay. And it's like, for me, it was like, I can remember lugging golf clubs the long way, and it's just a part of the journey.
Yeah. Tell me about the history of golf and its relationship with the Black community, right? Like, there's been a lot of chatter about how it's changed, a lot of assumptions. Can you break that down to us in like what it is and what needs to change, in order for golf to kind of think about those truths?
Yeah, I mean, so I think the history when it comes to golf and African American, first of all, we kind of came into it as caddies. That's where, where we were the help, essentially. And then as the caddies begin to watch, just like anything else, you begin to take it on. You starting to see it like, oh, okay.
So you have an
and
interest.
then extra clubs get to hanging around, and then it begins to get taught, and then guys start to become really good at it. But during this time also, we couldn't play on a lot of these golf courses.
Just because of
The color of our skin. Yeah.
Got it.
So there were laws in place, like, you take the PGA Tour, and I think, and I'm going to pause, and I think it's really important for people to understand that the PGA Tour and the PGA of America are now separate entities. But prior, I believe it was,
61.
no, I think they split, 1961 was when they lifted the Caucasian only
they had the clause, right?
But I don't know exactly when they split. I don't remember. I want to get it accurate. But the point I'm just trying to make is that rule was for both entities, not just the PGA of America and not just the tour. They were one entity. I want to say maybe like 19.
I believe it's 55.
Okay,
So 55, that was the...
when they split,
Yeah.
right? So again, before they split, they both adopted the rule that it was a Caucasian only clause, right? For the tour and for the PGA of America, which is basically like the tour are the professional players, and then you have the industry. And so the pivotal moment for African Americans was in 1961 when they lifted the Caucasian only clause, and it allowed us to participate in both the tour and the PGA of America. And then from there, I think some people are kind of more familiar with the history that has gone from there. Yeah. I think an interesting fact that a lot of people don't know is that you had more African American golfers in the 80s than you had during the Tiger Woods era at one time.
Professional golfers.
What do y'all know? What was the influence behind that?
Well, we talked to
Chichi Rodriguez is a older golfer. I'd say the first year we went to the PGA show we had on Eastside Golf down in Orlando. We got to talking with Chichi, told him who we were. It was like, damn, like it's a legend. And one of the things that he told us was why diverse talent kind of decreased after the 80s. Yeah. And one fact is, I guess, 1983, Augusta National actually stopped black caddies from caddying at Augusta National.
But how would they do that? That's illegal.
Well, no.
Right?
I mean,
Because
when it's a private country club, you can make your own rules.
Got it.
Yeah, but just moving from there, what was the main point?
Well, they were just saying that, to your point, we got introduced by caddy. So when the money started to get the purses increased, you started hiring. So if me and O are buddies, right? And typically, quote unquote, I'm gonna reverse it. I have a white caddy, right? So I'm out there. But then when the money increased, why would I want to give that just to a white caddy? I want to go get my buddy.
Right. So they were doing the opposite.
Correct.
So that's what happened.
That's
in
what
83.
happened. So in the 80s, when the purses started to increase, they started to get more of their buddies, and then it was less than, you know what I mean? Because again, it wasn't. Again, let's be honest. Caddies had like this negative kind of. Like they're the help, yeah, and it's not like this sexy job that people aspire to be. But now that the money started flowing, and we've seen that in other things, once that money started flowing,
things start changing.
And it's like, oh, I was your go-to guy for so long, and then now, you know, it changed.
But then on top of that, the caddies are the ones that brought back what they learned to the black community.
Correct.
So now you get more guys that are, dang, like in the 90s, damn, I learned from my dad in the 80s, you know, but nobody's learning anymore because there are no more caddies.
Correct.
So now it just decreases as far as where you going to learn from.
Right.
Who am I learning from in my household that was around in that era? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, it just decreased over time.
And to that point, you're not only learning, but you're learning from the best. Like these guys caddy for Jack Nicklaus and Sam Snead and like, you know what I mean? They're watching the best.
So they're coming with you with insight from the very best.
Correct. So they're the one helping them too.
Yeah.
Yo, you doing this, you're doing that.
Right.
Like,
they're the ones that's giving notes.
Exactly.
Wow.
So they're learning all the tricks and trades. And to O's point, they were bringing those tricks and trades back to the black community. So if there was this one kid that was pretty good, or they start picking it up themselves, or they're around, you know, these Tom Watson, credit to Tom Watson, kept his black caddy. And it's still, like, even when he comes back, he brings him back and has done a lot, you know, for that. But the point that I'm saying is that clubs and shirts, like they would get all that extra stuff and be able to kind of corral that hand-me-down and take that back to you know what I mean, to the black community.
I mean, that's what we always do.
Yeah.
We always do.
Yeah. Jay said it best, you know what I mean? Chitlins, you know what I mean?
You know?
Y'all fed us pegging intestines and we made chitlins, you know? It's like...
We always going to make a way.
Correct. Absolutely.
But speaking of that decline, right, there's a parallel in more recent years that is being reported as the opposite. And so PGA reported in 2020 that golf has become more diverse than it's ever been. What's the truth behind that? Like, what's in y'all's experience, what have you been seeing, you know?
I mean, COVID. I mean, it's COVID. It's no CMO. It's no leadership of any one brand or, you know, commissioner or executive director or CEO in golf that said, oh, we finally figured it out. No, it was COVID. And people begin to discover the game on their own and realize that, no, this game I really do enjoy it. I just never had time. You know,
Get
pauses. You know, you did everything else but this, and then so when you see the uptick in that, like I always use the analogy or the fact of the matter that Callaway, when COVID hit, they stopped, freeze, didn't know what was going to go on. Everything is like in chaos. And then in August, they end up buying golf. They end up buying Topgolf for $2 billion. So what? Like again, it was that COVID window where you seen the uptick, and it wasn't a program that they rolled out or an initiative that they rolled out that brought a bunch of people there. So I mean, that's the short answer of it. The uptick it was COVID, but I think now you're starting to see people try to take advantage of it and get ahead of it. But the real question is, it's like, as O would say, like, is it real purpose and teeth behind it, or is it just gonna fizzle out?
Is it gonna fizzle out because they didn't know how it happened in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
When you don't know how it happened in the first place, you don't know how to keep it going, how to sustain it. Right?
100%.
Absolutely.
100%.
Let's get a little bit into the Eastside Golf story, though. Where's the interest in fashion come from, right? And the pairing of that with golf.
I'll say I've always been into fashion, you know, but growing up in golf, it's always khakis. Me
Why you
growing
ain't
up,
my khakis on?
I just look right here too. I was like,
no, growing up in golf, it was strictly only khakis, big baggy polos, and it wasn't fashionable at all. You know, like definitely if one day I could wear some baggy, you know what I'm saying, khakis, but then another day I could wear some joggers, I would do that.
I'm good.
But
it's just one thing.
Yeah,
no,
it was
he's
just one
right.
thing.
Like it was just khakis.
So you're
like,
telling me if I go to the course, I would have just seen
khakis.
same.
I mean, that's what honestly we would aspire to have. You just wanted fresh ones, but like you just wanted 50 pair of fly khakis.
Yeah.
It was nothing else.
Yeah.
Word.
Yeah.
So tell me about then the logo of the brand, right? So you two get together, Eastside's born. Where did the logo come from?
So actually, it was me that started the business. I was in commercial finance for about 8 years.
You was in commercial finance.
Yeah,
You was miserable.
Yeah. I'll start from so I'll start from the beginning. So of course we went to Morehouse together, won a national championship. He graduated, became a PGA professional. I graduated and I turned pro in golf. So I started mini tours, trying to raise money. I was literally making pitch decks on why you should sponsor me.
Words.
Pitching them to corporations, doctors, lawyers, I mean, whoever would listen, you know. And I would say over 2 years, I maybe raised 11 grand, you know. So I ain't raised nothing.
How much would you have needed to support yourself?
150 grand a year. Yeah,
And that's
so
covering living, travel,
caddy,
equipment,
flight. If anything breaks, you know what I'm saying, and it's a little expensive, especially on the pro level. On the pro level, so I was doing that for 2 years. It got to a point I just couldn't afford it anymore. So ended up taking on my major was accounting, minor in finance, and I was in sales, and then ended up getting my job from. I used to work at Enterprise Rent a Car. Ended up getting my job, VP of Sales, getting them golf lessons. He wanted to give me a job from just giving them golf lessons.
Word.
Yeah. And
he wanted to give you a job just from golf lessons.
Yes.
See, y'all see how the world works.
Yeah. But then, so I was in commercial finance. I financed tractors, trailers, construction equipment for about 6-7 years, and was about to be looking to become VP of a finance firm. You know, I was a regional sales manager, and got home one day. I was just like, this ain't it. Like, I want to play golf. You know what I'm saying?
You got so far away from what you were really wanting to do.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I was so upset that I had to quit golf in the first place. Like, I didn't know if I was ever going to make my way back. But it's crazy. I ended up finding a job to where I closed deals on the golf course. So I'm not even playing my best golf. I'm shooting 73, 74, and they're just like, man, you need to get from out here.
They're like,
you need to. How much money you need? You know, like, you know what I'm saying?
They're like, we tired of losing to you.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
You need to get from out here. Yeah, but like, help me close deals. You know, I did that for 6-7 years, but like I said, got to a point. I just wanted to play golf. And so I didn't know what else to do. I knew it would be hard to find sponsors. So let me just make a logo. So the logo was just supposed to be me, jeans, sweatshirt, Cuban link chain. Like, that's how I feel that's how I want to look when I go out to the golf course, And I showed it to him. He was just like, yo, put that on a T-shirt. And I was just like, all right. So I've always been into design, but I did it real minimum, took a gilding, ironed on the logo. I went downtown Detroit with that T-shirt on. It cost me $25. I maybe got stopped like 150 times in 3 hours. Just like, who are you? What's that logo? Where can I get it? And do you play golf?
Wait, did you have any experience with logos and like drawing on that scale and stuff like that? It was just a hobby.
Yeah, it's always been a hobby. I've been designing shoes since I was about 8 or 9 years old. Got like a book full of, but I didn't know what to do with it. I'm an accounting major.
Yeah, you're like, I do accounting. I don't do that creative stuff. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
Got it.
But so after I came from downtown, I got back. I was just like, bro, I got something. Don't know what it is, but I got something. And he was just like, yo, run with it. So I ended up making T-shirts, sweatshirts, socks, hats, lapels. Like, ended up spending my savings. Maxed out all the credit cards, sold my cryptocurrencies. Like, I bootstrapped it from the beginning. So bought all the inventory. Even during COVID, they weren't, but I'm gonna say it anyway. We can always. No. Even during COVID, I took my rent money and bought inventory with it. Because they didn't make you pay rent.
They didn't make you pay your rent. Yeah,
so
I know.
went ahead, I was like,
they was deferring.
So ended up just spending all that money on inventory. Word. So the first 3,000 orders, I actually shipped out from my apartment myself. Boxed them all myself. I was running the Instagram, customer service, like did the entire thing. And he was watching me the entire time, just like, bro,
let's go.
I see it. He even wore the sweatshirt out a couple times at homecoming. He was just like, bro, I'm getting some feedback on this. So
they was on my ass.
So I knew what the normal world would think about it. I knew what society would think about it, but what would the golf world think about it? That was really the question. And even asking him that question, he was like, bro, I don't know. I really don't know. But taking it from there, it was a great response when we went down to the PGA show.
Yeah, I was curious. I was like, to go from just wearing on the street is one thing. Yeah. But as y'all described to me, what it sounds like the uniform is on the course, this is very different.
Yeah.
And so, walk me through play by play. As we going to the PGA for the first time as Eastside Golf.
I'm gonna let you. Yeah.
What's the feeling? What's it looking like?
No, I mean, it was one of those things where for me, I'm like, I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Going into it, and literally. And I think about it now. I think we was at that time probably was Snapchat was really popping up. So we was kind of like, I think Instagram was just starting to bubble a little bit, but it was more like Snapchat. And so we're capturing a little bit of it. And for me, I have been to tons of shows, right? Because I'm in the industry. So it's like another day, it's like somebody going on the Complex Con. You're just like I know what to do. So we doing it, and you can start to see kind of people looking a little bit. And the crazy part about it was, remember, we couldn't even get in.
Yeah.
Like, what you mean you couldn't get in?
Well, like my name wasn't coming up in the system, my number, we wasn't registered. I'm like, yo,
professional.
I'm like, yo, what? Yeah, I'm like, yo, like I'm this, that. They like, man, your name in here. I'm like, my boy run this. Like, it's like,
no, don't do my boy.
Yeah, my boy run. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to call him. So long story short, I was a young lady. She ended up getting us in, and from there we just walked around. And like I tell people all the time, you can feel when people are looking at you. And so people just looking, staring, asking, what is that? And we literally did a whole lap, and we went to all the different brands, and people were just constantly like he said, like I got the same response that he got. Wow. Who are you? What is that logo? Yeah. I don't think and do you play golf, right? And so I can remember, because at this time too, for me, I'm like, not even knee deep. I'm head deep in something completely different. You know what I mean? And booming. Like we're doing really well. And I'm happy. Like things are going good. Like we was working in the mayor's office. We had co-founded this program called HBCU Week, and things are rolling. And I'm like, and I'll never forget too, because he'll tell you, like, we had a gala that we were hosting the next month or Yeah, and I'm like, bro, like they not gonna let me leave. Like my team is gonna kill me
They'll kill you.
if I'm running off to Orlando for this logo basically. And they like, yo, bro, we got work to do. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go. But long story short, I will never forget it. We got back to the hotel, and I literally looked at him and I'm like, yo, you got something. You got something. Like at first, obviously, you see the logo, you think it's dope. I'm supporting my homie,
Of course.
my friend, my boy. All right, cool. But then when I seen that
In person,
experienced
it.
that's when I knew in my mind, like, oh, okay, no, I gotta start spending more of my time on this.
How did you two's working relationship start to form? Right, because it's different being friends. It's different playing golf together.
Yeah.
Now we trying to run a business.
I mean, my whole thing was we won a national championship together before, so being on teams, like we've argued before at Morehouse. So like now it's like,
You knew
bruh,
what
I don't have anything to
Right.
argue with him about it.
Right,
Like,
right.
like,
Yeah,
like for
100%.
real. But now it's just like, hey man, I mean, there's no ego. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm wrong, like, bruh, I'm fine with being wrong. That means he's right, and that makes my job a lot easier. I'm fine with it. I don't have to be right. That's not what this is about.
Right.
Like, Eastside Golf is about building something to change golf forever. If I'm not right in that process, correct me by all means. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people aren't really like that. It's that ego, like I gotta run it, I gotta be everything.
Don't tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, like, and I even back up, like, how many? And I haven't said this in front of him, but how many people would start a brand and then name somebody else CEO? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's where my mind is.
But
like,
that's being able to remove the ego, because as you said, the purpose behind what you're doing is not to build up your name.
Correct.
The purpose behind you doing is to change the game.
correct.
Right?
Correct. Yes.
So I can understand how you would get to that point. One thing I wanted to double back to you on was the sacrifices that were taken financially. When you were going through those moments financially and you were doing those things, what's going through your mind?
Peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Like, that's all I got. Oatmeal, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Oatmeal, but I mean, this gotta work. Like, I'm not going back to finance. Like that corporate lifestyle, I'm not with it. Like, and on top of that, I felt like I could run the company at one point. And would they ever let me run it? Me being a 28-year-old regional sales manager, black man at that, I'd have to be 60 or 50 years old. It'd be
Before they
another
feel
30
like you
years.
had
it'd be
even though
another-
you was already running up the numbers.
Right.
It'd be another 30 years until they let me see that. But it's just like, that pushed me to, well, Olajuwon, what do you want to do? And then I started to creep up on 30. And in my head, when I was turning 30, I was like, this is how my life is going to be.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. Like,
you
however,
saw it.
when you
You
see
were like,
30,
dog.
that's when you start looking at the women more serious and everything starts to like come together.
You're like, I need to bring
is
this
my
life in. I need to
it's
like.
gonna have to
It's
start.
starting to get permanent right
Yeah.
now. Like it's starting to
Whatever
form.
this is it.
Yeah,
This is what you're gonna be doing.
the
for a
concrete is starting to
long-
harden a little bit.
It's gonna be for a long time. So what I was doing just wasn't it, But my territory was the Midwest. Doing my job, I was out on the roads a lot of nights and getting stopped in cop cars a lot.
Word.
Oh yeah, like, I mean, it's nothing I could really tell my corporate job of what went on. Like, well, did you get the sale? How many times I went into a commercial finance building where they're selling, Kenworth, Peterbilt, all of these different truck companies, and go in there, how you doing? My name's Olajuwon. And they're just like, well, how you doing? How can I help you?
What you here for?
And it's just like, well, I mean, I'm fully suited. Well, I finance tractor trailers. Okay, well, you got a business card? I'm gonna look you up, But then there's, two other guys that didn't
Don't get
the
any of
road.
that. None of
Yeah, they don't get that type of treatment, So, and they definitely look different than me. So just going through that over the years, and then politics at work, like, I was just tired of it. Why not do something for me to where, I can actually attain my goal? Like, my goal is to turn pro in golf. That is the final goal.
final goal.
And that's why Eastside Golf isn't, I mean, like, I know what my final objective is.
Right.
He knows what his is.
Right.
And that's why also we work so well together because honestly, we feel like this isn't our last stop.
Yeah.
You
This
know,
is just
like,
a part of, it's a chapter, it's a part of the journey.
absolutely.
100%. Right.
Absolutely. So, but all in all, I say that going through all of those things, it got me. I had to learn all of those things in the corporate job to know how to run this business.
Yeah.
To know how to lead. To know where. Really put yourself in a position to win. And whatever that looks like, make that happen because everybody's going to win.
I try to tell a lot of folks that is you can't rush certain things, you can't rush, and there's certain experiences that you do need. And so a lot of times cats don't see the value in going into some of these infrastructures.
Right.
And me personally, I did struggle with that as well. But what I realized, I was working at a smaller brand years ago when I got in there, and I was like, oh, I'm learning, oh, this is how you put a system together.
Right.
Oh, I can do the plan, the strategic planning. Oh, you need this people to do this. But, and then when I got out, and I was like, you know how to put the pieces together.
I agree.
Exactly.
I agree. I mean, you definitely, and I tell people too, you got to be a good follower in order to be a good leader.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You take on those characteristic traits, and as you, like we tell people, and even on our team, it's like, we know what it takes because we did it. Like, I'm not asking you to do nothing that we didn't do. You know, like, we were even having a conversation, and this person, when they hear it, they'll know. They're like, we're like, we're going to expand on a different social media platform. And they're like, well, who's going to, like, we don't have the bandwidth. I'm like, bandwidth? Like,
You never had that.
he never had no bandwidth. Like, we didn't just, you figure it out.
You figure it out.
And then, it's like solution oriented has always kind of been, one of the things that O's always focused on, And I'll say for me, having been a part of other businesses and seeing them scale, I also learned a lot about myself through that process. And I knew who I was going into this situation. And we could have some very honest, upfront conversations and just keep it like communication is the key. It's like, hey, this is what's going to work. This is what's not going to work. Right. And as you grow and as you scale, like even now, like it's just super important for us just to communicate so much. Because again, you look at our phone, he's got 50 new people he just met. I got 50 new people I just met. I'm in New York. He's in Atlanta. This, that, and the third. People get in your ear. Then next thing you know, it's like, I've seen it happen one too many times. And it's like, the key is just that line of communication. And even stopping just to say hello. Like, yo, how you doing, bro?
How you doing? Yeah.
Like, forget the numbers. Forget the J's. Forget the Hulu doc. Like,
yeah.
How's my bro doing?
Yeah, how you living?
Like, you good? Like,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
we've been on the move, but let me check in.
Like, and we seeing each other. We talking. We in meetings and all of that. But, like, like, when do you stop to work on the friendship? You know what I'm saying? Because it can become straight business, and then you end up, like, literally, like, you don't even want to be around this person because it's just all business. And it's like, I think that's one of the things that I know we just being super conscious of. Like, yo, like, this is my friend overall. Like, the money come and go. Like, at the end of the day, whether Eastside left tomorrow, are still my homie. Like, what we've done, what we built is still amazing. And it's like, but that does take work too. And I feel like that's what people don't understand. Like, having successful, healthy relationships with people
takes work.
Is not easy.
They don't just exist. Nothing just exists, right?
Exactly.
It's like a plant. You know what I'm saying? Right. You get a plant, you don't water the plant, what's gonna happen to the plant? It's gonna die.
100%.
Yeah. 100%.
It's the same. Relationships, business, it's the same.
Correct.
You know what I
And
mean?
we're mindful of that. Like, yo, he'll tell you there was a time when I'm like, bro, you all right? Like, I knew something wasn't right. I'm like, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you're mindful of that. Like, all right, bro, you need to take a break. Go do what you got to do. You know what I mean? Because I want you as a person to be right. Or he'll come to me like, I'll be like, yo, I need off, bro. Take as much time as you need because you're also conscious of, like, maybe it could be the worst time during the business too. But it's just like, nah, like, I still care about the person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if the person is healthy and doing what the person needs to do, then I know ultimately the business will benefit.
Yeah. And fortunately, both of us, I would say we're hiring for when we kind of drift off or go take that time, we have somebody to pick up
That
the
you
slack.
trust.
Correct.
That's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
we're not
like
gonna miss a
when,
beat.
Like when I walk away, we have a brand advisor. He takes over. He just keeps working hella away, and then when he takes off, I actually replace him as CEO. I mean, I've done this before, so it's like the old
It's a
business
good-
thing.
yeah.
I just drift right into it. And then I kind of leave the design hat, but then I go into taking care of my employees. So, yeah, man, it's a great balance.
I do want to get a little bit into like the growth and all of that in a little bit, but one thing I wanted to ask y'all before we jumped into that is how's the wider, like we talked about how the introduction of the PGA tournament had went, but how does the wider community respond? Right? When you think about your aesthetic is vastly different than my khakis. But and so to say, some of the traditional golfers out there, what's that been like for y'all?
I mean, I think they're like finally. I think they like we said the other day, like we're more focused on building with people that want to work with us.
Yeah.
So like, it's not necessarily about trying to convince all these other customers. How are we treating our current customers? You know, it's not about like we tell people we want partnerships, we don't want sponsorship, we want partnerships. So for us, I don't really pay attention to the other noise. You know what I mean? Like he'll tell you, like I'm a pretty positive person. Like I don't even negativity. Like say, you know, it exists, but not necessarily in my world.
Yeah.
And so we've always been kind of focused on like, again, we rock people that rock with us. Yeah. If I gotta convince you to do this, then
what we doing?
Right.
Right? It should never feel like you're selling.
No, never.
Right? It should feel like this is organic. It makes sense. And usually those folks always show up.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you mind repeating that question?
Yeah. No,
You
yeah.
wanna
So,
answer
the question I was asking was, how has like the wider golf community and the golf world in general received Eastside Golf? And the reason I was asking that is because y'all's aesthetic is vastly different from what we see out there. Like, you know, and that's also, if I'm being honest, that's partially been my own resistance to golf has been the aesthetic of it. You know what I mean? It just doesn't speak to me, as Vashti would say. It doesn't speak to me. And so because your aesthetic does speak to me, I'm curious to know how, you know, those traditionalists have been responding to that.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, man, that's wild. When we started out, one of the things, I remember when I made the logo, you know, like, now I want you to look at
Oh boy.
So when I made the logo, you know, one of the first questions that I got asked was, damn, what is that around his neck?
Stop.
Is that a noose?
Stop.
Yeah. Yeah.
Word.
Like, yo, I wasn't even thinking that. And it's just
Well, the question is, why would I be walking around?
Tell me about
It's a
it.
deeper,
Tell me about it.
With,
you know?
with somebody that resembles me with a noose on his neck.
Right.
Tell me about it.
Why would I do that?
I don't know. But I will say it's very new for them. To the only other time that a black figure has been put in the limelight and like really been shined upon, because he earned it, Tiger Woods. You know, other than that, now we're taking this black logo and, you know, putting it out in front of everybody because, I mean, I do want it to be a beacon.
Yes.
You know, I want for black folks to see them like, damn, I can actually do that.
this.
You know what? Let me put on jeans, sweatshirt, keep a link chain, just go to the
And I can
public
still, you know,
course,
go try a
and
little.
we can just do it like that until I, you know, just work my way up.
Right.
But I feel as though a lot of people, like he said, are just like, it's about time. You know, I feel like I see myself within that logo. Like I've seen really no people in the middle. Really, it's either I really love it
Rock with
or
it.
yo, what the hell is that? You know, so yeah, man. And then when they see the Eastside Golf, they like, damn, it matches.
It makes sense.
Feels right. So yeah, man. I mean, I just feel like they're accepting it a day at a time.
Yeah.
A day at a time.
And I think there's a nugget in there that's important of what y'all said is like, you're not out here trying to chase everybody. You're speaking specifically to us. And also in speaking to us, you're also have this drive to change the way that things have been, right? And you can't always do that by trying to please everybody. Like you're gonna ruffle some feathers.
Yeah, but I think in speaking to us, I think we're speaking to us because we've never been spoken to on a golf lens on a vast majority. But at the same time, we also aren't just making black clothing, right? And this clothing is for everyone. Like one of my new favorite lines is like, "You've never played polo, but you wear Ralph Lauren."
Of course.
Right?
Everybody I knew wore polo, never played polo a day in their life.
100%. So it's like, don't box our brand in that same, in that same regard. If the quality's there, if the story's there, you know what I mean? We make clothing for everybody. And so I think one of the things we're focused on, that black people in this game have been kind of, ostracized or put to the side.
we get put in a box. The moment y'all remember when black streetwear was popular, becoming super popular in the 90s, and they would automatically deem it something, right? Urban.
Right.
That's what we got called.
Immediate.
Urban.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fam, it's jeans and a jean jacket.
Right.
We've definitely been called an urban golf wear in magazines.
Stop.
So
Still.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, you see it even in music, right? Like, it's music, but it's the urban or black music or that sort of thing. And it's like, the amazing thing about music is similar to clothes. It's like, it connects with everybody.
It does.
And like, you may not know, I don't know Spanish that well, but I know Bad Bunny. When I hear it, like,
soon
this
as I
song
hear it,
comes,
I
I don't know a word, or we was in Japan and somebody put on some music. You don't have to know the words in order to kind of connect. And I feel like that's kind of the clothing, you know what I mean, where we are with the brand. It's like, you don't necessarily have to play golf in order to connect with it. It's more of like what it represents. How does it make you feel? What's the quality of it? Those sorts of things is what draws people in. What's the story behind it? That's what draws people in, not necessarily just, it's this black golf brand.
Yeah.
And honestly, and just on another note, to raise black economic power, you can do that through golf. I mean,
tell me more.
More black people or more diverse people that go to the golf course, their circles build. Now you all of a sudden get 4 or 5 hours with a guy that just plays golf, looks nothing like you, like only interest is golf. But you guys have so many other interests and so many other things that you do. And that's another thing. We're not here to make pro golfers. Like, we're here for you to pick the game up so you can go out and now meet all of these different people. You go play golf, you might meet the next person that you interviewing.
Right, no facts.
You know what I'm saying? Just all of us, and he's not a pro golfer. It might not be nothing about golf. You might start off, I met this dude on a golf course, but he does X, Y, Z. The entire thing is about X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it started off with golf. And that's what I want to give so many other business people, entrepreneurs, people that just live everyday life. They can really raise their economic power just by going to the golf course.
That's powerful, right? It's allowing you to get in circles that maybe you otherwise would never be in.
And go to a public golf course as well. These guys, the guys that usually play golf, entrepreneurs, doctors, lawyers, they're playing on their break. Just guys that have that extra money to spend. These are the guys that are out on the golf course. Why not go meet these guys? What do they do? Do you want to do the same thing? You want to be out there golf course midday like them?
Maybe you want to go see how
they
got
do.
there.
Go see what they do.
No, that's dope. Exactly. That's dope. Speaking of like building and expanding on the business side of things, right? Like, y'all have introduced different articles, different garments, right? Different products. I gotta imagine it hasn't been like the easiest thing, and every vendor hasn't been the easiest. What's a horror story or something that just happened that you was like, that's not happening again?
One thing that I've learned from doing this is don't rush. If when it comes to apparel, make sure it's right. Done all. If it ain't right, don't come out with it. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, that is ingrained in my mind. If it ain't right, don't come out with it. Just wait, or do it right and then come out with something. One horror story that I got is we have an NBA licensing deal. Yeah. And we chose he chose a vendor, and it was kind of like a rush project.
Because you wanted to try to hit a timeline.
Right. And they said they could hit the timeline.
Yeah, they said they hit the timeline. We paid extra money, to hit. Oh, well, I know you just paid the deposit. You're going to have to pay the rest of it. I need it. And it's just like.
Oh, they kept asking for more money.
Yeah, and this was maybe like a year ago or something. So, but we ended up paying all the money. I mean, the goods came back and they did not look like we needed them to.
You had like the Gordon Gartrell?
It was bad. It was bad. So we end up coming out with the shirts, but they were only up on the site for like a week. You know, we just pulled them and we're just like, we need to do this the right way. Talked to NBA, said we're going to do a re-release. They said okay. So actually, we'll be coming out with NBA playing golf after this, our capsule in February.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, that's All-Star timing.
the right way.
The right way.
During All-Star.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we have
the
an
right
All-Star
way.
drop and then a team collab.
Yeah.
Follow.
Coming. Did your heart drop when that was happening?
What the
When you got the shirts back and they were different than what y'all was expecting?
I'm gonna be honest, we were going so fast that I felt like we could make the money back.
Okay.
You know, like I felt like
You
we had a
immediately
hot
went
brand.
problem solving.
Yeah, that's where I go every time. Like I don't have time I got too many people to worry about, and I don't have time to sit here and he looking at me, everybody looking at me, and everybody looking at him sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just like, well, what are we gonna do? Nah. This is what we're going to do. Solution. All right, bet. That's where we're going to go.
Make the pivot.
Just know not to do that no more. That's what I've learned. If you do it again, that's on you, bro. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. You know, like, you know it now.
Yeah, you
don't
know
do
it.
that
You learn that lesson. Don't do that
Correct.
again. Now, y'all know good management is at the foundation of every business, right?
Absolutely.
As y'all been growing, what's been the experience with managing a team across the nation, right? Because folks are in different spaces, and you need them to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's that been like?
No, I mean, I think it's a challenge. It's a daily challenge. I don't think that to get where we need to go, we know that we got to bring everybody in the office, and you know he'll tell you. I've been screaming that for a while. Like, we got to bring them in. But I think also it's about building a culture. Like, we want to build a culture where people want to come work for Eastside Golf and are excited and understand all of the different facets that are happening. I think it's also just important to, like, lead with kindness, right? Like, you can demand greatness and without being rude.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
A lot of people just hadn't seen that.
Right.
So they just assume I got to go yell at everybody.
Right.
I got to treat people a certain way to motivate them.
And it's like, like we, our team, like we genuinely care about these people and their family and want to make sure that they're doing okay. And that has nothing to do with the standard of excellence that we expect as well. And it's just communicating. Like I tell if you can't get something done, it's okay. But don't do it where we expect it to get done and it's like, oh yeah, final report is done. Like, I always use the analogy is like where, if you expect someone to master your album, right? So you did everything. You're like, all right, I'm going to go because I got to hand my album in.
Yep.
And then the deadline comes and they like, oh, bro, you know what? I really didn't know what I was doing or this, that, and the third. It's like, well, you could have let me know. And I would have simply went to someone else that could have done it. But now the label's looking at me to hand in my album.
Yeah.
And so we've been in that circumstances even, numerous times where people have said that they could do something. Yeah. And that's what we kind of stress. Like, if you're trying, let us know you're trying, so at least we can
know when to intervene.
Exactly. Right? And I think too, we now move like with parallel paths. So like right now we're looking to open an office in New York and in Atlanta, right? But we're hiring a commercial broker and using our network. But not just relying on our network. Or not just relying on the commercial broker. It's like, no, we can have both paths moving at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, you got to do that. That was one of the things I learned working in corporate is don't rely on that one thing. I actually got into the space where, you're putting proposals together and you're putting pitches together. And I remember one time I had one. Actually, it was but also I think a better example was June Ambrose came on the show.
Yeah.
And she was talking about how when she was very young in her career, she had brought somebody one idea. And they said no. And he said, don't ever do that ever again in your life. And she was like, why? She's like, sometimes you don't have time to go back and come up with another idea.
Wow.
So you need to have three more to pitch. The same is the same for scenarios and problem solving.
100%.
Sometimes that one idea, that one plan is not going to work. So what's the second? What's the third? What's the third
Correct.
option? You don't have time to always go back and
to be like,
plan,
let
make
me
a
think
phone
about
call,
it.
you know what I mean? And so that was also something that I learned coming up. Had to learn the hard way, and since then, I be having, I got the
Yeah. You got plenty of. You like, oh, what? You don't like that? I got another
What
one.
about this?
Give me a second. Hold on.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's important to think about those things, and it's really cool to hear how y'all have been expanding and parallel pathing things on the way. How do you think Eastside Golf is disrupting things from a cultural standpoint when it comes to fashion?
When it comes to fashion,
Yeah.
This is the first time golf has ever been used in culture.
And in the word fashion, I
And
feel like
really, yeah. And this in depth in the word fashion as well, yeah. Like, the special thing about Eastside is the same pieces that can be sold to Whistling Straits, where they hold the Ryder Cup, to that pro shop, we're selling them to Up NYC to Fat Joe.
That's fine.
So seeing a 70-year-old white man wear the same thing a 50-year-old black boy is wearing, that's power.
That is power.
Yeah.
That's power.
Not
That's
a lot
influence.
of brands, not a
Can't
lot
do
of
it.
brands can reach.
I mean, that's
that,
global
that
brands.
Far. Yeah.
That's only happening on Nike, Adidas, Reebok. Like, global brands are the only brands that are
doing
having that far wide
Generation.
demographic.
Yeah, totally. What's the one thing I wanted to, and I've been holding on asking this question because I wanted to start it out with this question, but
got
the show on Hulu, Grailed. Y'all talked about the journey of the collab with Jordan and that partnership. I think before we get into the design side, why is that partnership so important and unique with Eastside Golf, Jordan and Eastside Golf? For those that may not get it outside looking in, why is this so significant?
Well, I think it's significant because, first off, golf is a passion of MJ. He has golf shoes, but you see they don't really have a golf golf apparel just yet. They might have a little polo, but not strictly golf apparel. And eventually I think they will come out with it. But it fits because so many things that Jordan did, he involved golf within it. He even created his own golf course. Yeah. He has so many stories on how golf actually made him a better person.
Better person and a
Yeah,
player.
I mean, a better, like, even the mental aspect. I mean, Steph Curry says all of the same things that MJ says, kind of. But, I mean, it just makes sense from even our perspective, like, how I marketed the brand at first was to be for all athletes. When I would post something, it would be of J.R. Smith playing golf.
Yeah.
It would be of Deion Sanders just holding a golf club. It would be of Martin Luther King holding a golf club. Like, they might ain't never even seen none of these pictures, but like marketing with that, giving it the vibe of this is for culture.
Yeah.
Right.
So many people really just dove on it.
Wow.
That, hey, I'm a weekend golfer, but this field, I like all of these people, but I didn't know they touch golf clubs.
Yeah.
Maybe I should do the same. And it just fit together to where now, NBA licensing deal, MLB licensing deal, and working on the NFL licensing deal.
Come on.
So,
Like y'all's reach, and this reach is getting crazy.
yeah. Oh, and PGA 2K23 and NBA 2K23. You choose an avatar, you'll be able to put Eastside on.
Get out of here.
Yeah, no, it's nuts.
Yeah, this is nuts. So tell me about the sneakers. Like, tell me what was happening in your inner circles when the sneakers started to come to life. Like, because for us, like Jordans,
It's coveted.
that's culture. That's us. You know what I mean? Like, you could ask me at a certain age if I wanted anything, and the answer would always be Jordans.
Yeah.
So to be able to work on a Jordan with your brand on it, like, what did that mean to your families and your friends?
Yeah, for me, it meant like I was out here actually putting in that work, first off. Like my nieces and nephews finally have somebody to look up to, like, that are that close.
Yeah.
Like all of them came to me with like business plans. Yo, can you look over my? I'm like, I got y'all motivated. Damn, but I like this. All I gotta do is be successful.
You got it.
Yeah. So no, like my family just really circled around me and was just like, whatever I need to do to support, I'm with it. You know, in our circles too.
Yeah.
Like all of my close friends are just, extremely proud of me. Like it's just like, damn, you deserve it, bro. Like you was always hustling, and that's for both of us, and it's for our family and friends to now like see it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yo,
it's crazy.
that's
They
so
even
wild.
like be giving them shoes sometimes. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
No, I think it's like, and I'm seeing like people showing up courtside, Rashad, from Earn Your
Well,
League. He showed up in the 12.
Yeah, exactly.
And I was like, it's
only
really
fitting.
cool to start to see how it's spreading, to all these different touch points within all these different aspects of.
Yeah, and I think too, when I
lives.
think about it, it's one of those things where, oftentimes good ideas are viewed as like, damn, I've never thought of that. That makes sense, right? But what I think the beauty in what we have going on is the fact that you're starting to see it through fashion and golf, right? Where it's like, damn, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so the more and more that happens, it's like the more and more we just continue to normalize it because, again, I think it's important to know the ultimate goal is to take away the shock. Like the ultimate goal is for that young black boy or girl to be walking down the street with a golf club. And you're like, oh, that's what's up. They headed to that golf course. I know exactly where they're going.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
part
saying?
Of the
Yeah,
behavior.
it's just a part of the behavior, right? Like we're not caught up in just the shock appeal. It's like, nah, we want this to be normalized where golf is a sport and it's not, if Eastside got the Jays, that's where they should be. They should be courtside because and we understand the importance of that. Like if you know you courtside, the first thing you're gonna think about what's the shoes I'm wearing.
Yeah.
What?
So
Because
to
you
pick
know what I'm about to do.
Exactly. Exactly. This dude got 1 million followers or whatever on Leisure and Rashad. And like, it's like, so for us, it's more of an honor that here you, and I get humbled by it all the time, especially when we see like NBA player Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
Can wear anything you want in the world. And you decide to wear Eastside.
Yeah.
And the list goes on. There's so many other people that have a ton of money, no money. It's just one of those things where it's like we're humbled and appreciative to every person that wears it. And then, like I've always said from the beginning, there's a lot of people that wear it. But then when you start posting it and you get paid to post,
And you ain't
doing
getting
it
paid
for-
to post this and you doing it for free,
Yeah.
you really rock with us.
Yeah.
Right? That's what that means.
that's
They
what
really
I'm
rock with
saying.
you.
Like we got people that doing stuff for our brand that the brands that they're signed to can't even get them to do.
Yeah.
And they hitting y'all like, what y'all did? What
Yeah.
y'all
Right.
got?"
They like, yo,
Dude,
like, you
like-
know, like a classic example would be DJ Khaled sending them the locker. That's organic. Khaled just went up with
Rock
it.
with it.
Yeah.
It's not like, yo, we told him, yo, at this time, do this, do that. And there's been so many examples of that. I'm just saying he has one of the largest social media followers.
Oh, yeah.
And understands his reach, and justifiably so. But it's just like when you get a moment like that, for us, it humbles us. We're never, I guess, take those things for granted because you don't know. There could come a day where people are like, nah, I want to get paid for it. But that's never really been the approach that we've taken, where people just genuinely rock with the brand.
Right.
They understand the mission. They understand what we're going after. And they're like, we like, come along with us because we
Yeah,
need
come on
the
the journey.
community
Absolutely.
to do it.
Can't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You need to bring your community along with you.
Yeah. And I guess I'll just add, I know this is just a little bit off, but just to talk about the power of the logo as well. I don't know where that, I thought I was like answering a question, but one of the most surprising things with doing this is the first time I've ever seen a black man logo be counterfeited.
Wait,
Like
wait.
it being
You mean
that.
counterfeited like Dapper Dan being counterfeited? I know y'all heard that story. Dap was being counterfeited.
No, like imagine companies coming out with a staple sweatshirt, but it has literally our logo on it. So this is like, it's, because, and by all means, anybody correct me. This is the first time I've ever seen a logo of a black man being counterfeited. So you can go make money somewhere else.
Off of-
You know what I'm saying? But it's
wild.
but that just shows you the power
Of what y'all
black
doing.
man and of a black man in golf. Like
Yeah.
I hope people really understand how powerful that is, because once they get into it and see that there are black men actually doing it, black women actually doing it, I mean, it's gonna open your eyes.
It's gonna change a lot of things. But
Yeah.
that's just that. I mean, it speaks to the strength, right? You know, it's what do they say? Imitation.
Yeah,
That's
flattery. I mean,
flattery,
right now, like even the 12s, like
Yeah,
the
those
12s
are
are being bootlegged. You know what I mean? In China,
Oh my
like
goodness.
there's the spot in Jersey. It's called Cowtown, where they make you can go get a bunch of counterfeit stuff and whatever.
Yeah, it was there.
Bootleg. It's there. We just sent the cease and desist to this one website where they were like, they took our logo and basically said you could put it on like any T-shirt you want or any hoodie you want and things, and the price is way down. It's like $40 or something like that. So again, it's one of those things where we had an incident where a gentleman literally bought up inventory and started to resell it
Resell
for
it?
a higher price. And was like tagging us though, like wasn't
Wait,
even,
he
like,
was tagging
doing it
y'all
on
like
the
he was a
low. Like he
retailer?
like, yo, he like, nah, bro. Like it's
What?
one of them things where when you see that type of demand
Yeah.
for something, and again, we just keep getting the power of this thing just continues to reach and go into so many different places that I don't think anyone could have ever imagined. And I think it's difficult for people to imagine because one, you've never played golf.
Yeah.
Right? So how can I tell you the power of golf if I ain't never
played
played?
it.
You know what I mean? And I think that's also difficult for a lot of brands to accept, right? Because when we come to the table, it's like, I'm taking you, like I was talking to my boy the other day, and I'm like, and this doesn't necessarily fit for everyone, but it's just like, how can I ask you for directions where I want to go if you've never been?
Exactly. What are you gonna tell me? You
Right.
can't tell me.
Right. So now you may be able to give me certain principles.
Sure.
You may be able to instill in me, your experience.
Sure.
All of
Ideas.
that is very ideas. All of that is super important. But like, you gotta understand, like, the path that we're on. Again, if you haven't spent hours hitting golf balls, if you haven't walked to the golf course, and all of these things kind of feed into like the decision making that's happening on a daily basis to shape it.
You can't advise it.
Right.
Right. So fellas, y'all are expanding. The partnerships, they keep coming, and they're great, right? And you're more intentional, and you're growing, you're opening different offices and things. Outside of that, what's next, right? Are we ever gonna see brick and mortars? We ever gonna see pop-ups? Like, what are y'all thinking from that standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is, well, what's next is we just did sign a Web3 deal.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. So getting into the NFT space,
Yeah.
getting into, just more people being able to buy the NFT, but then seeing the functionality from it. But also these NFTs, you can buy them straight cash and not need cryptocurrency.
Oh, that's
so
dope.
making it available for so many more people. But then even moving past that, I would say 2-3 years from now, Eastside Golf Club. Yeah. I mean, with us, it only makes sense with us having a now Nike Golf account. We sell Nike golf shoes on our site, all the new ones that come out.
Yeah.
Why not have a pro shop or an Eastside Golf Club to where now you can come buy Eastside Golf, you could buy Nike
brilliant.
Nike golf shoes and potentially clubs as well.
Y'all might have the most exclusive club in y'all hand after this.
Yeah. So just partnering with the right partner. I'm pretty sure they'll be watching this and they'll be like, man,
Y'all about to have a lineup now. Now you put that out there.
But that's what it's about. I mean, like that Eastside Golf Club definitely being something for juniors, definitely being something where it can just be fun, and also, now selling. It being in East Atlanta and now presenting golf in just a different light, in a different way that has never been seen before.
Man, I love this, fellas. Like, the vision is crazy. What y'all been able to do is crazy. What y'all gonna continue to do is nuts. Y'all know we're gonna have to run this back.
Oh, man,
yeah.
we here. It's a lot. It's a lot to touch on.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna want us back in about December,
I
January.
was gonna say, I was like, it ain't gonna
December,
be long.
January.
I was like,
I think you're gonna
we
want
gonna be like, hey,
run it back. Yeah.
My last question I wanted to ask both of you, and I want both of you to take this one, is what advice would you have for young creatives, young entrepreneurs coming up that are inspired by what you're doing?
It's gonna be different. That comes from. I'm gonna tell you now. I'll let you go first.
For me, I think it's just very important to like know your strengths quickly. The sooner you know what you're good at, I think then you can start to begin to put things in place to kind of say, all right, I'm not good at this, so how do I kind of overcome that? I would also say I think it's very important to, like we talked about before the show started rolling, like learn under someone, right? But again, I said earlier, like a good leader is a good follower, and there's been numerous examples where, you know, I wasn't the man, and I think again, it's about those moments there. How you accept those moments are gonna be the foundational block to build where you know you ultimately need to go. And you know, I would just say, lastly, I think it's one of those things where just figure it out. Like we live in a YouTube world.
Yep.
Google.com. Like there ain't nothing you can't do.
Can't find.
There's nothing you can't find. Like figure it out. And I think that's one of the reasons why we were able to get to where we were today, because I could give you so many examples where I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but we figured it out.
Yeah.
What about you?
I would go first off with experience. You know, if you can, like he just said that, go learn under somebody, but really get that work experience so you can figure out what structures of company looks like. How you gonna want your own company, but you ain't never worked? You ain't even had an entry level position. You don't know what no boss look like, or you can't even hear him talking to you. You ain't never had that, so now you don't even know what to say to your employees.
Right.
Oh, go get it done. Now,
They ain't gonna work.
Strategic way. You need to do this. You know what I'm saying? So experience, go get that. I would say definitely confidence is another one. I mean, if you feel as though you have a sound plan, and we're not going off of feelings. We're not doing feelings. I want to know why this is going to work.
It's gonna work.
Like, tell me. I mean, and if it makes sense, it does. But if it doesn't, then why?
would I
What
do
are we
it?
doing?
Yeah.
You know, you really gonna waste your time to do this? It must be some God feeling that you got why this is gonna work. Like, nah, you need a reason. Like, I mean, with every single idea that comes in, like even with people that work on our team, I mean, you have a great idea. I mean, the first question I'm asking is why. You know, so, but definitely having reasons on why your idea would work, and definitely a business plan, work on that. And like I said, confidence. Man, there were so many times when I started this, it was like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't even see it. Like, man, I mean, laying on that floor in my apartment in Detroit, like, bruh, it was scary. Yeah. You know, like I didn't know what was my next move. I didn't know if Eastside was gonna work. You know, it was just me. There was no Earl. Earl flourishing.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, let you want to jump into it. You know, hold on to your seats. But I had to be confident enough that there would be light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, if you just keep going. I mean, this is something that you wholeheartedly believe, and Plan A is Plan B, and same with Plan C. They're all the same. Like, bruh, like, go with it. You know, take your time. Make sure the plan makes sense. Make sure you're ready, like, personally. Make sure you've done all the things, all the steps, got the experience, you got your plan on how you think it's going to work. Man, I remember I told him completely. There's some things I told him 2 years ago that are coming into fruition now.
Right now.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just being confident and sticking to your guns and knowing that it will work. Like, if that plan makes sense and somebody else said, damn, that makes sense. Like, run.
Run with it.
Run. Like, don't be afraid, man.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. You got this.
Man, fellas, y'all put batteries in people's backs, man. Yo, I appreciate y'all for jumping in, coming into Portland. I know y'all got busy schedules. I know y'all got a ton. Thank y'all so much for coming on the show, fellas. We appreciate it, truly.
Appreciate you having us, dog. You already know, man.
Much love.
You already know, man. This was dope.
You already know.
For sure.